All right, guys. Appreciate everyone jumping in. We'll have a few more people sort of trickle in over the next couple of minutes, but I'll kind of just start off with a little introduction to myself. I'm Stuart Greer. I'm one of the senior enterprise directors at Review Trackers. I've been with Review Trackers around 3.5 years. So really, really excited to talk today and present to those that are attending. So thank you so much for joining. But today, we're going to be talking a little bit about customer loyalty for the long haul and ways to build relationships that last. But before we dive into that, as we're still waiting on a couple more people to join, I'll give you a little bit more of a background to myself. So this is a very goofy picture of myself outside the Cubs Stadium with my Everton top on, coming back from the Everton Supporters Club that I ran in Chicago for 5 years. Big sports guy myself. But a little bit more about myself is I started my own company while in university at 19, sold it at 21, bought my mum and dad a house with that money. They've never paid rent in the last 15 years, so I'm pretty sure it was a terrible investment, but there you go. But I moved to America actually for 6 weeks. It was just a 6-week short-term contract, and that was 15 years ago. So I've been here for quite some time, have a weird hybrid of the English-American accent, and I also played and coached professionally, both in Europe and then coached for the Chicago Fire under 23 team, as well as various Olympic development teams. But that's a little background to myself from just as a person. But as I said, I've been at Review Trackers for about 3.5, 4 years now, and helping people with their online reputation management. So excited to chat about that stuff today. So when we think about brand trust being vital for any business, 1 in 3 customers ranked trusting a brand as a top reason for choosing a retailer. When you think about brand trust, online reviews kind of fall hand in hand and come in hand with that. So reviews are going to directly impact your brand reputation and your ability to build brand trust. So think about it. If you ever just jumped on your phone, saw a restaurant near you, saw the reviews that mention some negative reviews, and all of a sudden kind of feel a little bit different about whether you actually want to go to that business, especially when those negative reviews have gone unresponded. You feel, do they care? Do they really care about the feedback? Do they care about the customer experience, etc.? And that goes for restaurants, it goes for retailers, it goes for anything. Think about a doctor. If they've got some negative reviews, do you really want to go and see that doctor that's not talked to you about it? So it's important for you to control the narrative. There's reviews out there. It's important for you guys to engage, whether it's social, whether it's reviews. It's important to get your narrative out there as much as possible and responding. Remember that kind of brand trust is always earned. It's never given. That's something that I think is really, really, you need to remember. There's a lot of people that kind of try to fake it a little bit and try to fix their brand reputation, etc. in 2 weeks. That's just not conceivable. It's not possible. It's something that is built over time, and you're doing the right things to genuinely impact it over time. That's really, really important. So what can your brand do during these uncertain times? Well, ultimately, giving people a sense of security and comfort is going to be really, really key. This is a little bit of a busy graph, but we are going to send this presentation out at the end so you can kind of dive into it and see it more. But ultimately, the top 2 reasons customers trust brands is quality of service and ratings and reviews. I mean, that makes sense, right? If you have a quality service, a quality product, people trust you more. If you have a lot of great reviews out there, a lot of great comments on Twitter, on Instagram, etc., ultimately that's going to make sure that people are going to see your brand, see the right stuff, and want to engage with you. So, but almost all the reasons on this graph you can find in reviews, find in social, and use insights to make operational changes, right? So whether it's how you treat your employees, whether it's Glassdoor and Indeed reviews, whether it's how customers feel on the back end with delivery service, things like that, you can start to see all of these things, and you can start to deliver a much more holistic and great customer experience and create that loop that ultimately you're going to gain more fans and gain more revenue, right? So a lot of businesses spend a ton of money on data with like secret shoppers, surveys, have forms at the counter. And there's just a ton of organic data out there already that's at your fingertips and that you guys can utilize right away to ultimately drive in more business and more revenue. So how your brand can build that trust, right? So there's lots of different ways that we see, but ultimately, if you can share content that demonstrates your goals and culture, that's going to be a key, right? If you have good content, you have a good message, you should share that message, share that culture, so people feel that they know your brand and can trust you. That is something that I find is really, really important. And if you've built, great reputation, great brand, why not show it off? Why not get more people out there understanding? Whether you're an individual business or you're a massive brand, you should always be pushing that out. So you can use social media to let your followers kind of get that sneak peek of what you're doing as a business, what you're doing right now that makes you different, makes you worth following. And ultimately, during this time, as doors are opening up at a different level, what makes people feel safe, right? I think I went out for one of the first times last week to a restaurant, and they made the experience as comfortable as possible while making me feel safe, checking temperature at the door, having spread out, and they advertised it and they put things on the menu that made me feel like they were doing the right things. So that's something you can do right now. Can you highlight the value of your brand? Can you show what sets you apart from your competitors? What's the difference between Chick-fil-A and KFC? Chicken sandwiches, right? But there is a big difference. There's a big difference in how they approach their marketing. There's a big difference in how they approach their customer service, whether it's Chick-fil-A saying please and thank you, etc. During the experience that makes it different. Think of a Jiffy Lube or a Pep Boys. Jiffy Lube advertising more right now about their contactless service. Are they doing things that sets them apart? That's something that every business can do and hopefully push out there and highlight what makes you different and why people should spend their money with you. But you've got to be genuine while you're doing it. You can't just be doing it for a one-off fix. Invite your customers to share their experience. Often, I think it goes unnoticed people forget to do this. Is get their customers that genuinely love them, genuinely have a great experience to share what they've seen and how the brand's interacted. I rely myself, being a director in sales, on my customers telling stories to other people so that they want to do business with me. There is tons of brand advocates for multiple brands that are on right now. It's really important for you to use those customer stories and share the experience. And lastly here, this is something that for years is kind of been, let's forget about it and push it down, but you can't really be afraid of that negative feedback. If you can identify customer pain points and improve your operations with that negative feedback, that's important. But ultimately, the negative feedback, regardless, is out there. Long gone is the burying your head in the sand and hoping that people don't know about the negative sides of your business because they were hidden behind, a phone call or a survey. Yes, you can still do that to a certain extent, but there's organic feedback out there and you can't ignore it anymore. And you have to sort of tackle it head on because it's your customers or potential customers are telling you what they want different, and it's something that you should be able to do and deliver on. So you can continue all of this to build that, build your reputation and loyal following. So positive brand reputation really can inspire customer confidence. It can foster loyalty and ultimately it can drive in revenue. If you think about 78% of customers say that seeing a brand respond to reviews shows that they care, and then thinking and tying that into like 92% of customers look at reviews before making any purchasing decision, it's really, really important to keep an eye on them and use a tool that can maybe even, help you identify trends and push out responses to make the whole customer journey better. And then you can ultimately work with whatever you have as like your assets now to inspire your customers about your brand. You can push out content about your values. You can add in reviews, that type of data into marketing initiatives, whether that's social reviews or Google reviews, things like that. So then you can identify trends in reviews. So when you have a ton of data out there, whether you've asked for more or you just have a lot of historical data, you have an opportunity to really analyze that data and build a strategy that enhances your customer experience to drive loyalty. Now, I had a client that went from an average star rating of a 3.6 to a 4.1 in less than a year by just using sentiment analysis to make operational decisions, right? And to retrain staff. They looked at their top performing locations from reviews, tied that into revenue, looked at their bottom performing locations, again, tied that into revenue, and then saw the different ways that they're engaging at the different locations, and then pushed out operational changes to their lowest performing and reiterated the good operational insights that they found in the best locations. And ultimately that led to higher star rating and an increase in revenue of over 8%. It's huge in any business, especially right now. But if you're a restaurant or retail or something like that, that's gonna be very, very big right now. So we at Review Trackers do have a tool that's going to help you leverage all this, but regardless if you're using our tool or just doing, this is a very, very important thing to look at the reviews. I would recommend our tool, but look at the reviews and see what's going on so you can visualize outcomes, make informed operational changes, and ultimately drive satisfaction to your customers. And then support that local community. There's lots of different ways here that you can dive into, but being authentic in your community and investing time in initiatives is really, really important. There's a local cafe that I go to pretty much every week for lunch, and they did a food bank run to support local communities. They did it even a month after closing. They did it again, ordered more food. They texted me to see how I was doing. As soon as their doors opened, I was first in line, right? I'm running in to get my breakfast, and I'm giving them a ton of tips, right? Because they showed to me in a genuine way that they care. And there's just different ways that you can engage and be insightful. You can interact during this time. And it's really important for you to continue to do so, but do it in a genuine way. So what can kind of happen next? This is kind of the last thing for me, right? You can communicate your values clearly. What's important to your business right now should be important to your customers too. So you can go out and show them that you care. You can engage with customers, communicate, promote in different ways, respond to reviews, respond to comments on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's important things to do right now. If you haven't already, starting a rewards program during this time is a really, really cool thing, right? It gives you an additional ability to engage. And people like me, if you tell me come 8 times and you get the 9th free, I tend to do 9 times at least, right? Because that's what we want to do. And then engage with experiences, like use reviews, assets, and turn them into sort of positive social posts. Tell that story to people, help them identify what the experience might be like with your brand. So I'm going to follow up with an email and link this presentation. So you'll see the full presentation. Also have my email on it, so you guys can certainly follow up, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. But I think we're out at time now for the presentation. I believe some people may have asked some questions, so I'm going to stay on for a few minutes, for 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes, or maybe longer, to answer those questions. So let's see if anybody asked any questions, see what I can do to help. So is there any specific type of content that might be more effective than others when engaging with customers? I mean, there is certainly different content that's going to help, but ultimately, it's whatever makes you unique, and whatever you want to get out there is important, right? So for me, I post a lot of stuff about my own brand, quote unquote, on LinkedIn, but it's always just trying to be helpful, right? So that's important to me, is to help people identify what's going on with trends and reviews and social. For you, that might be different. So it's really, really important for you to get specific, type of content out there that's going to be helpful. But I'd say getting anything out on Twitter, social, adding it to your website, adding things around what changes you made to menu, customer experience is really going to be important. So next question is, how can I sound genuine and authentic for each customer engagement if there are hundreds of customers reaching out online? Great question, actually. So ultimately, listen to what the complaint is, or listen to what the positive outreach is, and tie it into how you would do things as a brand, right? So the worst thing that you can do, in my opinion, is just have a generic response to a negative review that doesn't talk about any aspect of what's happened and what's been negative in the experience, and doesn't help them, feel like you've really listened. It's just like, oh, can you fill out this survey and then we'll take a look at it, right? That doesn't help. I ordered a couch from IKEA a couple of weeks ago. It's still pending. It was due here 2 weeks ago, and I can't get a hold of anybody at all, right? And then my second order showed up that matched those couches, so it's kind of, I don't have the right stuff here. And IKEA just said, oh, please email us here, and I haven't heard back from them. Now, look, is IKEA really going to go out of business because I don't go back and return as a customer? Probably not. But I'm redoing an entire basement, and I'm going to do 2 new bedrooms upstairs. And my intention was just to go to IKEA. And the fact that they have not been genuine, not being helpful, I'm not going to go back to them, right? Even if they did respond now, it's been 2 weeks. So ultimately, I don't know if having a very specific thing in mind is important so much as being genuine and actually thinking about how you're going to respond to the reviews, and taking into account their actual problem. Take into account what they're telling you is really, really important. I find is very valuable for my clients. Is there any more questions? Doesn't look like there's too many more coming in right now, but we'll give it a second to see if any more questions come in. But if you did attend today, we're going to follow up with email, follow up with the video. We're really, really excited to have you guys here today. Hopefully it was a useful 15 minutes. And my accent wasn't too strange and funny that you guys could all understand me. But ultimately, really, really enjoyed the conversation right now. So I'm going to sort of stay on until people leave, just in case anyone has any other questions. But we're going to follow up at the end of this, and we will be more than happy to have a conversation online, in a different environment, show you some of your review data, some of the insights that we can help you with, and hopefully help you guys really build that customer loyalty for the long haul. So really, really appreciate everyone's time today. I'll stay on for a few minutes, but thanks so much, and we're looking forward to helping you, and happy tracking out there.